Thank you for showing up. This is going to be probably about a 30-minute presentation. I did the same thing on Pro Cleaners Network a couple weeks ago, so this may be like a review for some guys. But basically what we're talking about today is, oh, by the way, my name's Joe Burnich with Big West Marketing. We do web design primarily in WordPress, and then we do some search engine optimization. My main focus right now has been penalty removal, website recovery. Typically, especially after October, if you've had a website that was ranking at all and you saw a drop, you probably got hit with some sort of penalty. So that's the kind of stuff I'm going to address today. I live in Missoula, Montana. I've been doing this about 5 years. I actually had a carpet cleaning business for 4 of those years as well. I just sold it to a friend of mine last year. So I know the business pretty well. But I couldn't run 2 businesses at the same time and focus. So I'm full-time marketing now, and we've got 3 employees. 1 guy does full-time design. The other 2 help out with the marketing side. So that's a little bit about me. A lot of people they wonder, okay, what exactly does an SEO guy do? I know that they get my website ranked, but what exactly are they doing behind the scenes? What's that all about? I found this little picture here that kind of illustrates it better than anything else I've ever seen. So what I think I do, what my mom thinks I do, what my friends think I do, and then in the bottom right is what I actually do. And that's about it. And you can ask any SEO guy out there and show them this picture and they'll probably agree. So yeah, it's basically a game of cat and mouse. Google makes changes, we have to figure out what they are. And hopefully, it doesn't hit for another year. Now, there are things you can do to prevent ever getting hit by a penalty, and that's the kind of stuff I'm going to get into today. So the main purpose of this little speech here is to help people kind of take control, because you're kind of at the mercy of Google, which can really hurt a business. I never tell people to put all of their marketing dollars into the internet or into any one source. But for those people that have become somewhat dependent on Google rankings, a penalty can take you out, overnight. Can really hurt your business quickly. And what you need to understand about penalties is that they're a lot like flat tires. So if you've got, you can have all the best equipment in the world. You can have the best truck mount, brand new van, all that good stuff. But if you have a flat tire, you're not going to go out cleaning. You got to get that tire fixed before you can go out and do your stuff. Penalties are the same way. If you have a website that has a penalty from Google on it, you can be doing all the best SEO in the world and it's not going to do anything. It's not going to move. So, so the point is you need to get this stuff fixed before you start doing any kind of link building, blogging, social media work, any of that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to get too technical today. I'm going to try to keep it pretty simple, but I want to give everybody enough information to where if you are in this situation, you'll at least know where to turn. You'll know who to talk to. If you need to talk, you'll know how to talk to your web designer or your SEO guy if this ever does happen to you. You'll know how to ask the right questions. So, 3 things I want to accomplish today. Number 1, we need to just determine if you actually even have a penalty on your website. So that's the first thing. The second thing we want to do is prevent from future penalties. We kind of want to future-proof your website to make sure this never happens to you. And then, of course, we want to talk about exactly how to fix it if you determine that you do have one. All right. So, okay. So there's 2 types of penalties, and maybe if you guys have done any reading articles about SEO and Google and stuff like that, you may have heard about this. But there is a panda penalty and there is a penguin penalty. There's lots of other ones, but these are the 2. 99% of all sites will either have one of these 2 or both. The panda one basically means something on your actual website is wrong and causing that penalty. The second one, penguin, is if you have links coming from other websites to your website. If Google determines that those links are spammy or toxic, then you will be hit by the penguin penalty typically. So let's see here. So first, let's talk about the Panda penalty. Let's talk about the things you can do to your website that you or your web designer can actually do to the website to prevent or even determine if you have this. The number one thing that triggers a Panda penalty is duplicate content. A lot of people, everybody's been saying don't put duplicate content onto your website forever. And when I say content, I mean text. Go ahead.
Quick question: how do you know if you've been penalized?
That's what we're getting into right now. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to go over. There's no way to know 100%. Google's not going to tell you. Okay. But I'm going to show you ways that you can kind of determine. Actually, let me see. There might be a slide I missed here. You know what? I have a missing slide here. Let me. There's one thing I can address along those lines. If you've seen a sharp drop, if you were ranking at one time and you saw a sharp drop, when I say sharp, I mean you're on page 1 and then, a week later you're on page 8. That's typically a penguin, meaning you got some spammy stuff coming to you. Spammy links can come to you by SEO companies that were doing, older techniques that don't work anymore. Some people order link packages from India and the Philippines. You can buy these things. Bad idea. They work temporarily and then you get your penalties. Or something that's becoming more and more popular, unfortunately, is called negative SEO, where competitors will send spammy links to your website in an attempt to drop you so they can pop up. So like I said, if you have a sharp drop, that's typically a penguin. If you have a gradual drop, so let's say you're on page 1, next week you drop 3 or 4 spots, next week you drop another 3 or 4 spots, and over a period of 3 months you just fade away. If that's the case, then you typically have a Panda penalty, which is what we're going to talk about now. Does that answer your question? Okay. And you can also check, there's a tool called semrush.com. It's free. Put your website in there and they'll give you a little chart and tell you kind of how your rankings have dropped. And on that chart you can tell if it's been a waterfall drop or if it's a gradual decline. So,
what does that website mean?
It's called semrush.com.
S like in Sam, C like in Charles, and like in Mary.
S as in Sam, E as in Edward, M as in Mary.
And Rush.
And then the word rush, yes. And so if you have an older website that you haven't even looked at for a while and you you didn't pay attention to whether it was a sharp drop or a gradual decline, you can use that tool to figure that out. Okay. So let's talk about the Panda penalty, stuff that you can do to determine, prevent, and remove just doing stuff to the website itself. Okay, so number one thing is duplicate content. And when I say content, I mean the actual text on your website, which is typically all that Google really can see on your website anyway. They don't look at pictures and stuff like that. They can tell that they're there, but they can't do much more than that with the pictures. So a lot of people are like, no, I wrote all of my own content, so I know it's unique. Well, that doesn't mean that other people haven't copied your content and put it onto their websites. Typically, if you're the first one to do it and you've been around for a decent amount of time, more than a year, Google is going to give you credit for that. But if you're seeing some drops, you may want to at least test putting some new content onto your website just to make sure. How do we know? So don't just assume that you have your unique content. You want to run it through a tool called Copyscape.com. This tool, it's very simple to use. You basically you can do the free version, which is okay, but if you really think that you may have a penalty, I recommend paying. It's 5 cents a search, so basically 5 cents for every page on your website that you want to analyze. And you click in login down there, you sign up, give them your credit card or PayPal or whatever. If you have a 10-page website, you're looking at 50 cents to get this thing analyzed, so it's very reasonable. Once you get into the premium section, you're basically just going to copy the text on your website, page by page, and then paste it into this little box here. And then click Premium Search. What you'll see is something similar to this. So this is an old website that I had for my carpet cleaning business at one time. It was more just a test site more than anything, but I hired somebody to write unique content for me, and when I first had it written, I ran it through Copyscape to make sure that that writer didn't copy and paste from somewhere. So I knew it was unique, but 2 years later, there's 7 copies of it on the internet. So like I said, just don't assume that your site is unique just because you wrote it yourself, just because this happens a lot. So if you're ranking, don't worry about the duplicate content. If you drop, that's when you need to worry about it. I didn't say that during the presentation with the Pro Cleaners Network, and I had people revamping their websites that didn't need to be. They were already ranking. So I want to just throw that out there. All right. So if you do determine that you have duplicate content similar to that site I just showed you, there's several different things you can do. You want to definitely, like what a lot of people do, and it seems like this would be fine, is they'll open up like their Yelp account, their Facebook, different directory accounts on the internet, and what they'll do is they'll copy the entire home page and put it in like the description section of their directory site. That's not a good idea. That can possibly trigger the Panda penalty. So you can either change it on your website or you can go to your properties and change it there. I wouldn't just rewrite it because you don't really know if Google's going to assume that it's because there's a percentage they use when it comes to duplicate content. It's not. So it's like some people will say, well, I'm just going to change a few words and then it'll be unique. No, it has to pass Copyscape. So get a new article, run it through Copyscape, either put that on your other properties, or the easy way to do it is just put it on your own site. If Yelp, Facebook, and all those other ones, if they have all the same content, that's okay. You just don't want it to be the same as your website, but they can be the same as each other, if that makes sense. Okay. Now, if you've determined that somebody else has stolen content from your site, which happens very often actually, you can actually contact the site owner and demand removal of your content. If they ignore you, or if they say no, I'm not going to, you can contact their hosting company, and their hosting company will take their site down. I've seen it happen. To determine who their hosting company is, you can go to whois.com/whois, put in their website, and it'll give you all the public information, including who the host is. Now, if you have one competitor, let's say, that's done that to you, then that's probably the smart move. But if you find it like on the site that I was showing you, have 7 different people have copied your content from around the internet, trying to contact all those people and get them to change stuff is just going to be too big of a headache. I recommend just changing it on your own website. Pay a writer $5 to rewrite your page and just be done with it. Another thing you can do if you have we do websites for people that have like a cleaning tips page, and it's all the same content for all my clients. For those types of pages, we will mark them no index. So basically, no index means you're telling Google, I want you to completely ignore this page. Don't even count this page as part of my website. WordPress, if you use WordPress, it's pretty obvious once you're on your edit screen for your page, there's a little checkbox for no index. If you're not using WordPress, you'd have to do it through code, so you probably have to talk to your web designer. Or if you built it yourself, you probably can figure it out. But for the most part, you'd want to take care of cleaning tips pages. I'm trying to think of another example. Spot removal tips, stuff like that. A lot of those kinds of pages are just traded around the internet. So those are the kinds of things you want to get off of your website, or tell Google you don't want them to even look at them. So, all right. Oh, here's the example of marking your page no index. If you're in WordPress and you just edited your screen, you can scroll down and you'll see the little check mark on the bottom left there. It says apply no index to this page. Okay. So once you get your, let's say that you have a Panda penalty, you've gone through and you've cleaned up. I mean, we had a guy where we had to clean up like 46 pages of duplicate content. We hired writers. We revamped this whole website. And then after that, it's just a waiting game. Say, okay, and so Google not only has to look and see that your website has unique, new, fresh content on it, but they have to also go and crawl all the other websites that have your copied content, your duplicate content. That can take 6 months sometimes. So to speed up the process, I learned this little trick where you can sign up for this service. The website is called indexification.com. You take all the URLs of everybody that's ever copied your stuff and your own URLs. You copy and paste them into this tool, and they'll go through, and I'm not sure what their process is, but they kind of trigger Google's bots to come and check everything out. I've seen it take, it'll drop the amount of time for Google to remove the penalty from 6 months to 6 weeks with this simple little trick. So it's $18 a month. You sign up for it. You pay $18. You run everything through, and then you can cancel it. So it's $18 to basically knock 4.5 months off the recovery time. Okay, so that's the duplicate content. Does anybody have any questions about that? Yes, sir.
The previous slide, you do that after you've been penalized?
You do that after you've cleaned your website up. So you've taken all the duplicate content off your site, and you've put in fresh new content on there.
Okay, so that's when it happens, so after we've been penalized, right?
If you've determined that you've been penalized because of duplicate content, or if you're suspicious of that, then you do this after that, after everything's been cleaned up, and that is strictly to speed the process up. It'll usually happen over time, but you want it done, for $18. It's nothing. So.
Now you said that we will know if we've been penalized, right? I don't know. I'm ranking okay, but doesn't it Google recognizes when you do, like I put my website on searches, right? And
right.
Come up. Somebody told me that Google will recognize my searches on my computer, recent searches, so I'm always going to come up. It's going to show up on my computer that I'm ranking, but it might not show up on somebody else's computer.
Okay.
So how do we...
Okay, how do you know for sure where you're ranking?
Right.
Okay, so he was asking, if you're checking your own rankings on your own computer, he's asking, since Google will, they'll put like cookies and stuff into your computer so that they'll try to give you different results based on your likes and dislikes and stuff like that. So if you're searching for your website every day, you're going to get different results than most of your clients. If you're typing in carpet cleaning your city every day, you're going to see different results than your clients on your computer. The way to know exactly what everybody else is seeing is to open what's called a private window. What browser do you use?
Chrome.
Chrome. Okay, so in Chrome it's called an incognito window. Up in the top left corner you click on File, and you click on Open Incognito Window. In Firefox, it's Open Private Browsing. Once that comes up, it ignores everything on your computer. It ignores all the history in your browser. It's like a clean slate. And then you go to Google from there and you do your search, and make sure you do that every time for accurate results. That's really important. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Safari? What is Safari?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know Safari or Internet Explorer. I'm not even sure if they have that option, but
I can find out.
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so but Chrome and Firefox for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Can't you just remove all your cookies and then restart it back?
You could, but I think there's other things besides cookies that come into play too. I think your history, and I think there's actually, and I don't know this for sure, but people have said there's stuff on your actual computer that can cause search results to appear differently. So, okay. Okay, so we talked about what you can do to your own website, the on-site stuff. So Now let's get into the offsite stuff. When I say offsite, it means people put links on their website that come back to your website. It's hard to say exactly what Google thinks is a spammy link and what isn't a spammy link, but I'm going to talk about a couple ways to get a really good idea. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it's not. And like I said, this penalty happens when you have a sharp drop rather than a gradual drop over time. So we had a handful of clients that in October of last year hit, they were on page 1, everything was great. As soon as the update hit in October of 2014, they went down to page 6, 7, 8, right in those ranges. And all but one of them we were able to recover with the stuff I'm about to tell you right now. So the first thing you got to do is you got to find out what these links are. You got to find out which websites out there have links coming to your website. If you guys have ever heard of Google Webmaster Tools, it's a free tool. If you've got a Gmail or a Google Plus account, which everybody should, once you log in to your account, you can type in google.com/webmasters and it'll take you to your webmasters account. And all this is, it's something that's set up so that people can kind of get an idea of what Google thinks of the website. Once you do get in there, you will have to verify your domain. You'll have to say, this is my website. Google will give you like a little file that you download, and then either you or your web designer will have to upload that file to the website, and then Google will say, okay, you just verified. Now we know that that really is your website, because they're not going to give you information on websites that you don't own. So once you're in Google Webmaster Tools, it looks like this. They've got lots of different confusing options. I don't know what half of them do. But the main one you really want to look at is under search traffic on the left. It'll bring down a little drop down and it'll say links to your site. Okay? Once you click on that, it'll give you basically what Google says is all the links coming to your website. Now, surprise, surprise, Google is not being upfront and they're not going to show you everything. But you at least want to get a list, get a good idea of what they're looking at. And so, like for example, this is my website, carpetcleaningwebsites.net. It's showing the total link number and then it's showing who links the most. Now if I click on the little, it's giving me the top 5 right there that it's showing. But if you click on more down below, then it'll give me a full, complete list of every website that they are reporting anyway that has a link coming back to my website. Now, like I said, you can't always trust just what Google says when it comes to links. So another tool that I use, which is free, is called OpenSiteExplorer.org. It's basically something, you just put your website in there, they give you all kinds of little metrics, but when you scroll down to the bottom you get a full list of all the links linking to your website. So there's going to be some overlap with what Google's reporting, but I've always found extra links that Google's not even reporting with this tool. So, and I like it, it's free, so there's no reason not to do that. Okay. Now that you have a complete list of websites linking to your website, you have a complete link list basically, you want to determine which links are quality, are real, and which ones are spam, which ones are toxic, which are the ones that are actually hurting your website. So most of the time it's obvious, like I said before. But some examples of good websites that are linking to yours are forums. Forums are good, safe, powerful links. Industry sites. Like to my website, I had a link coming from Rotovac. I had a link coming from CleanFacts for different reasons, but those are all solid. You never have to worry about stuff like that. Facebook, any kind of social media links, any kind of big major website out there that has a link coming to your website is of course fine. What you want to look for, though, is foreign language sites. Like I've seen links come in that are in like Chinese. Absolutely no reason for a Chinese website to be linking to your your U.S.-based carpet cleaning website. Unrelated industries, stuff that just doesn't make sense, that an industry that has nothing to do with carpet cleaning, unless you put it there and there's a specific reason you have that link, it's most likely hurting your site or potentially hurting your site. Here's an example of a guy that he had over 20,000 toxic links coming to his website because he had been working with previous SEO companies that were basically just subbing all the work out to India and Philippines, and it worked for a few months and then it crashed, and now we're in the process of doing some major cleanup on this. But look at some of the names of these, like smart-links.org, that's a dead giveaway right there. Kalanka.org. Yeah, hookers.ie, come on. Anything that has to do with the adult industry, if it links to your site, can hurt it. I've seen one single link take a whole website down. So that's kind of a trick that some competitors use, is they'll get like a porn link, send it to your website, and the only thing you can do is get it removed. And I'm going to show you guys how to do this. And what you can, if you're unsure, go to the website. You can copy and paste that, put it in your browser, and go look at it. If it looks completely ridiculous, mark it down as a toxic link.
How exactly does somebody link a foreign link to your website?
Well, back in the day when SEO was kind of more Wild West than it is right now, all that mattered was how many links you have coming to your website. It was just about quantity, basically. And so all of these companies in Asian countries mainly would just build thousands and thousands of these websites strictly for links. They had no purpose other than linking out to basically American, European websites to get them ranked.
So unless it came from your SEO, then you probably don't have them.
Right. But you want to make sure that your SEO person is not subbing it out to a foreign country, because, yeah, it doesn't happen that much anymore because most SEO guys know that it doesn't work anymore. But I'm still surprised every day, the stuff that I see people still doing.
But you're not going to have a potential competitor attaching any links to your site that you don't know about?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that's what I'm asking. How would we find that out?
You run it through the Google Webmaster Tools and Open Site Explorer.
Okay.
Those two tools, yeah.
Okay.
And what I do is you can export them into spreadsheets, and then I put them side by side, or I add them into the same one. And then what I do is I use this tool here. It's called Link Research Tools. It's pretty pricey. It's $129 a month. But if you're unsure whether or not a link is legitimate or not, this tool is pretty good at telling you get rid of it right away. And they lay it all out in a nice little format with scary colors and stuff. So here's an example of a site that I ran through Link Research Tools. And lowermylegalfees.com, you can see it's got a high toxicity rate on it. And then they'll give you medium, and then they'll give you like the low or the safe. Anything red you want to get rid of right away. Anything yellow you want to kind of check out and make sure, but most likely you're going to get rid of that too. And so, okay, so now we've got our link list. We've determined which links we want to get rid of and which links we want to keep. How exactly do we get rid of them? And when I say get rid of, I shouldn't even say get rid of. I want to say, we want to basically just tell Google, hey, we don't want you to count these links. There's no way you can go out to all these websites and have them actually taking off. But you want to tell Google, these links, we didn't put them there, we don't want them there, ignore them, please. You do this with, it's called the Google Disavow tool, and it's connected with your Webmaster Tool account. This is the URL you go to, or you can just go to Google and type in Disavow tool, and it'll take you right here. It's actually pretty simple to use. You just take a list of your URLs, put it into a file that ends in TXT. So you can make that with a notebook on a PC or a text editor with a Mac. You put it into that file and you upload it, and you can either wait 6 months or you can once again run everything through indexification, and get it down to as low as yes.
So when you say you're making this text file for disavow, you're uploading it onto your site or uploading it to Google?
You go, okay, so you're going, let me go back. This little screenshot down at the bottom, that is a screenshot from your webmaster. You have to be logged into your Google Webmasters account. And this is a screenshot from within there, within that account. And it's basically, choose file, upload it, and then Google says, okay, it's there. Now, I just found this out actually. What if you can actually do this in stages? So let's say you find your just worst links. You're absolute, 100% that those are bad links, but you're not sure about these other ones. So you can upload your file and run it through indexification, wait 6 weeks. If nothing happens, you can take that file out, re-upload the rest of the links that you were curious about, and put that back in and wait another 6 weeks. So you can do it in stages, which is a good idea because if you disavow, because you can also disavow good links. You can disavow links that are helping you as well. So you just got to kind of be careful with that. One last thing I want to talk about that can possibly cause a penalty is crawl errors. So crawl errors happen when you typically it happens if you have your website revamped by a new web designer, but you keep the same domain. A lot of those pages that were in Google's index, that are in Google's list of pages, don't exist anymore. They're all new pages, different URLs. Google will actually report errors within once again, the Google Webmaster Tools account. You click on crawl on the left and then crawl errors, and it'll tell you. So this example here, my website has 18 crawl errors. So if you have WordPress, you can easily get a plugin. If you're familiar with WordPress plugins, called Link Juice Keeper. You upload it, activate it, it eliminates all of these errors. If you don't have WordPress, you got to talk to your web designer and say, listen, and you can actually click on the word not found down there above the 18, and it'll show you the list of URLs that are causing the problem. Have your web designer redirect all of those to the home page. Does that make sense?
Can you repeat, just personally,
It's confusing, yeah.
I have 4 marketing online companies, SEOs of this,
Okay.
working for our company. Started with one, then wanted to build, actually, Yellowbook, which is not to mention names.
Yeah.
They had one name, what's that perfect name, what's the other company? Then we had another name with another company, another name finally, we cut it all to one. Is that what you're?
Yeah, so you probably have some of that. I've heard the cutoff is like 20. So if you have 20 or less errors, they usually ignore it. But when you start going above that, it can affect your rankings. So
Are we going to crawl here?
crawl errors, that's what they're called, crawl errors, yeah.
Wouldn't people working at those companies, they're too busy, they don't.
The big companies, they don't care. Yeah, if you're working with a smaller company, they should be on top of it.
A couple local.
Yeah, they're probably on top of it. But this is kind of why I'm doing this, is so you can ask them these questions. Hey, have you checked for crawl errors on my website? Or can you check for crawl errors on my website? So yeah, it's actually pretty easy to clean up. It's not a huge deal, but it's definitely something you want to look at. If you got 100 crawl errors, you probably are ranking a page lower than you should be just by that one simple little fix.
What was that plugin called again?
It's called Link Juice Keeper. It's free. And you don't have to do it. You don't have to do any settings on it. Just activate it, and it's good to go. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Hey, Joe, like you said earlier, this is so ambiguous for a lot of us.
I know. Yeah.
And I got a guy that I've got a pretty good relationship with. What do you charge? I want another expert opinion.
Okay.
What do you charge to check out my website, my stuff? I don't want to jump ship with this guy.
Right.
Because I'll have 5 like he does.
Right.
So.
Well, that's funny you ask. I'm going to give you guys a little special offer here at the end. So.
I'll wait.
Okay. Any more? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Quick question. I get SEO marketing people call me 6-7 times a
Especially now it's going to get.
I do too.
day. And my question is, it's a 3-step process. Like one person wants to sell you, they send you to the next person, to the next person.
Yeah.
The question is, they want to sit you down, they want to show you what they could build for you.
Okay.
So out of curiosity, I sat down with maybe 5 or 6 of them.
That like physically, like they're in your town. You sat down with them.
Some of them are local, quote unquote.
Okay.
And others are, they put you on a website and they show you what they could do.
Yeah.
Essentially, all the websites look exactly the same, crappy pictures, crappy content.
Yeah.
And they say they could rank you. I tried one, maybe 3 of them out, Yodel being one of them.
Yeah.
And spent a group of money and didn't work at all.
Yeah.
How could you pretty much separate the people that may be able, I have a very negative content with SEOs now.
Yeah.
That have,
I know. I get dirty looks all the time. So yeah.
So the question is, how could you separate the good ones from the bad? Because SEO is all about what you know, what you don't know.
Yeah.
You know, how you can pretty much screw somebody, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, number one, if they're calling you, don't use them.
Yeah.
A good SEO company doesn't have to cold call. No way. Second, if you're on the fence with somebody, say, hey, can I get 3 clients of yours? Can I call them?
Okay.
And then do it. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I would do. I mean, the hard thing about SEO is just because it works. Because like if I have a client and I do all this stuff and it works awesome, it doesn't mean it's going to work the exact same way on the next one. There's so many factors that go into it. So I'm not saying that every company you worked with, was scamming you or whatever. So there's that factor too. But they at least need to have a handful of people they can refer you to that you're allowed to talk to without them present, as a referral source. And I mean, I think with carpet cleaning it should be the same way too. It's like who's a good cleaner? Who's not going to rip me off?
Yeah.
So it's the same type of thing. So yeah. Yes, sir. Call 406-493-1881. No. If you're looking for somebody local, I would talk to other businesses. Say, who do you use? Do some searches for maybe like plumbers, similar types of services. Say, hey, who do you use for SEO, and get referrals.
I guess I didn't get your phone number joke there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no problem. Somebody else had a question? Yes, sir.
I'm new to this, and it's frustrating me to no end.
Yeah.
My first question is Google a necessary evil, or are they really out to truly help and clean this mess up?
Okay. The problem Google has is 90% of the internet out there is auto-generated spam. So their job is to try to find the good stuff and weed it out and put in. Their goal is not to hurt or help businesses out there. Their goal is to give the person searching the absolute best experience. That's how they make their money. I mean, if they didn't do that, then people wouldn't use them. So, yeah, I mean, they can seem evil at times, but when you look at it from their point of view, that's just kind of they're in a really tough place too. I think there are things that they could do better. They've actually improved, like the Google Maps. Now it's called Google My Business, Google Places. It used to be called Google Places. That they've improved that side over the past 3 months, leaps and bounds. I mean, you can call Google now and actually get stuff taken care of. I could talk to Google every day now on the phone. So,
My second question is real quick.
yeah.
Can you, in my area, there's 7.
Yes.
And up there, can you break that really?
Absolutely, yeah.
SEO guy?
Yeah.
Or woman?
Yeah.
I mean, because they're there plastered. I got a guy that's been working on mine. Now I've fallen for the, hey, they call me up, really?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I'll do it. Guaranteed. And now it's like, every SEO guy that I talk to, you can't guarantee me, number one.
There's never a guarantee. If anybody guarantees you, then then run.
Then you're paying that $800 a month or $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantee that you're going to even get up there.
Yeah. It's definitely the SEO. I'm going to say this right now. SEO is not for the guy who's just starting out and doesn't have any money. It's not That's not a good idea. My best clients are the ones that are already established, have other marketing channels coming in, and they want to add something new. That's who it works for the best. So.
I know I had 3, sorry.
I saw you on it.
Is a P.O. box something that will get you a hit, ding?
It won't get you dinged, but you won't rank typically on the 7-pack that you're talking about, unless there really isn't any other competition, if there's very few cleaners in your town.
On the PO box, I found that UPS works a lot better because you can actually legally use it as an address.
Yeah, you're not. The Google says you're not supposed to use any of those UPS or mailbox, etc. But
If you don't have a shop, you got to use your physical address.
yeah, there's little tricks to get around this kind of stuff. But
Do those tricks get caught, and then you get dinged?
I mean, like the UPS stuff, like some of them get dinged, some of them don't. So the safest way to do it is to use an actual physical address. I mean, you could if you have a family member or a friend or something that can accept the postcard that Google sends you, you can use their address. But that address is going to be plastered all over Yelp and everything. It has to match all over the internet, not just Google. So that's a consideration. They've got these virtual addresses now where these buildings will actually they'll give you like a suite number and everything, and those seem to be working the best. I've heard of guys that will go to the post office, get like a forwarding card, and then they'll find like a vacant commercial building downtown or location, and they'll go to the post office and say, hey, I moved. They'll forward it to their home address, and they will tell Google, this is my business. Now, if it was ever manually reviewed and Google, an actual human looks at that, they're gonna, they'll drop you. But very rare. It's been working for a lot of people. So how long that's gonna work, I don't know. But that's a trick that some people are using.
Thank you.
So yeah.
So just
Yes, sir.
real quick, a couple of guys. I'm by no way, shape, or form a guru on this, but one, most people call you, don't even let them get 3 words out of their mouth.
Yeah.
Just and most of them are foreign people or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
even want to. The only thing I worry about, and I don't know if, and you can answer this at the end, is if they can actually go into your website or into the links back, create bad things that you hang up on. You can answer that later.
Good.
The other thing is, as far as him finding, or even you with 4, get on Facebook and the carpet cleaners page, or Mikey's board, or cleaners, or TMF, or any of those, and just ask. There's a ton of, I don't know.
There's experienced people.
Small, small. There's Joe and there's another guy named Steven. There's a handful of them that are good guys that have been cleaners that understand. Some of them won't work with you because they already have clients in your area, and they won't double dip. Which, in my book, that means that they're good guys. They're not going to try to play one end against the other. But just go out there and ask, hey, who's a good guy? And then call them and say, hey, can you help me with this? Can you not? If you can't, do you recommend somebody? I think there's enough. There's probably, 2 dozen of them.
Yeah, and that's great. That's great advice, yeah.
But
Yeah.
for sure, don't. You got that far with my, click, I hang up. But I am worried. Can they get in there and cause negative reviews?
Yeah, I mean, anybody can do negative SEO, and that's why Google came out with this disavow tool. And so if somebody's hurting your website, you have at least something you can do. So
I guess maybe that's something like maintenance on your machine that you probably should do once a month.
you should check your links once once a month, once every 2 months. It takes a long time for links to show up, so even once every 6 months is probably sufficient. But yeah.
Oh, and the 7 places, I found that mine, it bounces all over. It'll generally stay in there. Sometimes I'll be 2, sometimes I'll be 6, sometimes I find that week to week they fluctuate.
Yeah.
The same group of guys.
I've been getting pounded with phone calls like crazy.
They suck.
That they all say they're from Google. It's not
I know.
as soon as you get your personal private information.
And that slows down if you've just got your stuff into like you sign up for like Yelp, you sign up for Merchant Circle and Google and all those. You're going to get a ton of calls off the bat. They start to taper off a little bit, but I get them all the time still. I have people saying, your website's not ranking on Google and I can help you out. And I'm like,
I told one guy, what, did you not check?
yeah, I know. I'm like, what's my website?
They don't take no for an answer. They just keep
I know.
calling like 3 or 4 times a day.
It's just ruthless salesmen, yeah. So okay.
I did that like 3 days ago.
So real quick, I want to get into something else real quick here, but I want to give my little pitch here. The Google penalty audit, everything I showed you here, I can do for you. We can run it through all the tools. We can give you the reports, all that good stuff. And then if you wanted us to actually do the removal, or if you wanted us to do some SEO for you, then we can talk later on. Typically, I charge $247 for this service. For the ICE convention, I'm taking $150 off, so $97, and we'll do a full audit on you. And then we'll do like phone consultations as well, based on the reports that we come up with. So come by my booth if you're interested in that. We can talk. It's 408, right by Rotovac. But so I want to get into this. So somebody kind of brought up like how important is Google? Is Google, Google it's nice. It's nice to get those jobs. It's a good way to get new clients. Now, but like what I was saying before, people that just depend only on the internet or only on Google or any one channel usually struggle. So what I want to talk about now, I want to introduce my friend Dion Bush. We've kind of teamed up because I do kind of like the new stuff, and he's got the old school techniques. He's got the tried and true face-to-face, get out there and get jobs techniques, which I think everybody should have a little bit of both. But I just want to let him talk for a few minutes. He's got some really good things to say. His techniques are super simple, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're easy. So I'm going to introduce Dion.